Do 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 boop boop.
Yay!
We're
Oh,
recording.
I have to not get too enthusiastic because of my setup. Otherwise, I'm about to be so blown out for people. It's not even funny.
I could fix that though.
Look at you, an editing wizard now. Do you
All because of
remember?
you.
Do you remember back when you were like, I hope I don't mess this up, and now you're just a little genius.
I'm not a little genius though because there's some things that I can't fix and then I just go, well, fuck it.
Oh, well, I mean, whatever. Nobody's listening for the quality. They're listening for the fun.
There's true. There's truth there.
So there you
So,
have it. Welcome back to Oddities, everybody. Speaking of quality, I'm Cassie,
I'm Kelly.
and welcome back to Strange Town. Yada da 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 da.
Oddities. Stay strange.
Usual. We have all of our information in the description for you. Follow along on social media for more fun, funsies, if you will. We also have links to our merch shop and our Patreon. If you'd like to donate to our show, you can do so for as low as $1 a month, and you get a bonus episode every week. And they're video episodes, and they're fun, and they're funky, fresh topics. And we have a link to our email if you'd like to send in your own personal spookala bookala stories or suggestions for episodes. Feel free to send them there. And we also have a link to our fun website.
Yep. How's my birthday?
You beat me to it.
Ha 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 ha.
Your best is good. This week has been actually, if I'm being honest, relatively tame compared to the previous several weeks. Um, I haven't had like 8 hours of calls a day, which is cool. Today I only had 3 calls. Who is she? I actually got some work done.
That is crazy.
It was great. It's
I
crazy.
love that for you, actually. It's good crazy.
It was so good, crazy. Like it was a much needed break. I don't know what it is. Like I mean, I wouldn't describe myself as an introvert. I don't know if I'd say I'm an extrovert either. I don't know. Like I can have a conversation, I can whatever, but all these phone calls at work I find absolutely, totally, and completely draining. So on the days when I have like a million of them back to back, I'm like wiped out by the end of the day.
I get that though.
Is it maybe too much of having to pretend to be nice to people I don't want to be nice to? I don't know what it is.
Possibly.
I mean,
So, and this has nothing like so on Saturday we had gone to a birthday party.
yes.
The next and we had a very good time. I want to make that very clear. We had a really wonderful time seeing old friends. We had a great time. It was hilarious because everyone kept asking us where the kids were. where where are the kids? Where are the boys? And we're like, they're with their grandparents. And they're like,
We have them
why?
locked up somewhere.
And then Michael's like, because she homeschools, she needs a break.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, that's valid, you know? But then it was hilarious because the next day we were so wiped out. We
Hmm.
were and it was like I think it's just draining
It
talking to
is.
people because like it was just chill. We were just sitting in a backyard. It was a barbecue. Like it was very low key. But I think yes, it is just draining.
Yeah.
Socializing, even if it's just talking on the phone. But with you specifically, your job, you do have to put on this business persona.
There is like an essence that I have to me. So one of my favorite stories is when I was at my old job, I was doing a podcast there too. And I think it was your sister who listened to it and she was like, "Who is Cassie?"
It
Like
was a very. She's like, work Cassie has a very different voice.
I do.
Like it
And
was.
so
She's like it was hilarious to her.
like two different beings. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, maybe that's what it is. So anyway, it's been a little bit refreshing this week. Tuesday sucked. Tuesday I was on back-to-backs most of the day. But like the rest of the week really has been pretty late, like light, which is solid.
Yeah.
Oh, and you all might be wondering, how did the escape room go?
Do, 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 do.
We nailed it. We escaped with 4 minutes to spare.
Yes, I have to get
We
you a crown.
Hell yeah, we got out of our little cells. There were actors during it, and it was like spooky, and so we got out of our cells. Then we had to do this big like serial killer escape room out of that, and that was a lot of fun. I was very proud of our group, especially since one of us had never done an escape room before, and he was like all over that shit. He loved it.
Okay,
So,
that one answered that. I was like, who hasn't done an escape room? And then you said he, and I was like, okay, I know who.
so we know who. And so yeah, so it was highly recommend if anybody happens to be from New Jersey. It's 13th Hour Escape in Wharton, and it was a blast. There's several others, so we want to go back if we can. What was that?
No, that was just great. I love
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah. So uh, it was it was I didn't know there were gonna be actors in there like yelling at you while you were doing this on and off. So it was like
They were yelling at you. Love that.
yeah, and we didn't even, I mean, we didn't really request clues, but like they came in and out to like, I think kind of make sure you guys were like, and by you guys, I mean all of us, like to make sure that we were like, I guess on track to completion potentially. So
Yeah.
yeah, anyway, it was sick. It was a lot of fun. So that was that. How's my bestie?
It's your bestie's good. It's been a low-ish key week. I've had a lot of stuff, but the kids have had like one class a day because it's parent teacher conference week, which is hilarious to say as a homeschooling mom.
We love
No,
to
I
see
didn't
it,
have I didn't have conferences with myself in case anyone's wondering.
but you could if you want.
Yeah, yes, I had a stern talking to with myself. No. Um the kids are above marks for everything and above where they're supposed to be, so that's really encouraging to hear. And they're doing well and wonderful, and they're a joy to have in class. Yay me. Um,
Whoop whoop, you go, girl.
like I said, we had that birthday party this last weekend, and it was really great to see some old friends. And it like this is people we like went to high school with and college and whatnot, and so they're just really sweet people. So it's
Aw,
always nice to see them.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, just rolling with the punches right now.
that's what
That's
we do.
that's my life. But it is what it is, and I'm recording with my best friend today, my
And we
borsty.
are. We're recording on a Thursday. How exciting.
Yes, we've been
Um,
recording a lot during the week, and it's been highlighting my life. So
I've been loving it actually for a variety of reasons. One, I get to see you much sooner and fill you in on things so much sooner, and I just love my bestie time. And then two, I know that you get to sleep in now on Saturdays a little bit. And that's
yeah,
been
I do.
like so fulfilling for me that you are
Yes,
sleeping
yes,
in.
I am sleeping in, and oh, actually, we've been going to see the grandmas a lot more. Like,
Good.
like a heck of a lot more, and we're gonna go see them this weekend. So,
Oh, I love that.
which is nice. It
Yeah, that'll be
makes the
nice.
Gram very, very, very happy. Anything actually really makes her happy, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hell yeah, I love that.
So, um, yeah, but not a whole lot going on. We have. I'm gonna get this messed up. Next
Okay.
Saturday, we have something called Raptoberfest. I think that's what it's called. We get to go to the
Stop.
base with Michael, and we get to see the raptors,
Okay,
the planes.
totally went in a different direction. In my mind, you guys were going to like a rap, like a rap like showdown.
That would have been cooler.
And
Um,
then my the other part of my mind was like it's like wraps, like sandwich wraps, and I was like, damn, either way, it's gonna be great. But this is
and I Michael believes we get to take pictures in the cockpit. So that'll be a Christmas card. And now I have a knock
fun.
at the door. So
Okay,
hold that thought.
fair enough. Inquiring minds need to know, being me, are you still gonna do the big hair chop?
I haven't decided yet.
Oh my God. Okay, the suspense.
I know. We'll see.
Okay. Also, an important question came to mind. Have you gotten your pumpkins yet for Halloweeny? We're gonna go next weekend,
Mm,
not this one.
no, we haven't, and we we just haven't decided where we're gonna go because there's like a great pumpkin patch in the area of my parents, and then there's a great pumpkin patch here. So we just haven't decided. Oh my gosh, you are completely gone.
I don't know where to there. Let's do
There,
this. Oh, a
it's
different angle of my
hilarious.
office. You don't ever see this
What a
angle.
cool poster, though.
You like
Anyways,
that?
so we just haven't decided where, but we need to get a pumpkin soon because the little one has a book report involving a pumpkin. Like
Oh.
it's part of the instructions.
Does he need to read the book to the pumpkin?
uh, I have to go over the instructions again, but like while she was explaining the report had something to do with carving a pumpkin too. So
Okay, coolness. Well, that sounds cool. I want to be a part of this book report. That's
yeah,
sick. We are gonna go next weekend because, as I mentioned on our Patreon, Corey is gallivanting in the woods with his brother and cousin
again the
and
mental
friend.
images.
Yeah. So I can't go without the pig. But yeah,
Love that.
yeah.
Love that. I need to know, did the pig's birthday present actually work out? And is it working?
We returned it. We could not get it to sync up with the satellites. The Robo lawnmower has been returned
I'm
after a
so sorry.
battle involving the credit card company because they weren't going to give us a refund despite the refund policy. So I was like, all right, I'm calling Capital One. Get fucked. And then Capital One was like, hell yeah, we have your back. So shout out to Capital One, not sponsored. We'd love to see it. And
Shout
yeah,
out Capital One, I'm tagging you.
I know, like sick. Thanks, guys. And these things happen.
Really quick before we get on the road, because it is 13 minutes, I want to shout out our new merch because this is the last week of October when this comes
Ooh,
out.
yes, Boobtober.
I do believe there's a sale running right now, Boobtober. So just really quick, you guys, our booby merch.
Yes.
Forever not regretting the choice of naming it. Um,
Yes.
this is the last week of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. However, no matter what, if this merch is purchased throughout the year, it will get donated to breast cancer and ovarian cancer research. So, with that being said, though, I believe there's a sale going on right now. If you purchase this merch, it goes to good things. So, if you find it in your heart, enjoy the booby merch.
Yes. Also, happy Halloweeny.
Oh yes, happy Halloweeny because it is the last week.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
It's
whoop.
right there. So,
It's right there. I heard somebody summoning you at your door. Do you need to go check on
yes.
them?
Now I have to go see what that is about. Shall we get this show on the road?
We're at our lucky 13. Let's do it.
We have to be. Try
Yours
to
is,
cut all this out.
yeah, yours is a short and sweet. Mine is a long and like a little
I'm really
disturbing.
excited about yours.
Oh, well, should I Jesus take the wheel?
Jesus, take the wheel.
Yes, sing it. Okay, kids. I guess disclaimer, even though this is a ye old serial killer, it's a serial killer like nonetheless.
Nonetheless.
So, I'm talking about the Axeman of New Orleans. Shout out, by the by, to my cousin Matt. Thanks, cousin Matt.
Thank you, cousin Matt.
Appreciate it. So, for the Halloween Spookala Bookala episode, I'm covering the Axeman of New Orleans, an unidentified American serial killer who was active in and around New Orleans, Louisiana, between excuse me, between May 1918 and October 1919. Press reports during the height of main panic over the killings mentioned crimes as early as 1911, but then there's been some research done or whatever, and basically they're calling that into question. So we're gonna call it 1918 to 1919. And the attacker was never identified, and the murders remain unsolved to this day.
Cold case.
I know, big cold case energy. So, as the killer's name would imply, the victims were usually attacked with an axe. This axe would often belong to the killers or to the victims themselves. So he was just like, hey, you've got an axe. I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
kill you
use it
with
on
it.
you.
Yeah. So in and like I mean, very thrifty, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. So in
Yeah.
most cases, a panel on the back door of a home was removed by a chisel, which along with the panel was left on the floor near the door. He was like, I don't care, leaving this.
Yeah.
And the intruder then attacked one or more of whoever lived in the home with either an axe or, in some cases, a straight razor. The crimes were not motivated by robbery, and the perpetrator never removed items from his victims' homes. So he didn't take like little trophies, he didn't, whatever. The majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans. Boo! These are my
Rude.
people. So, leading many to believe essentially that the crimes were like ethnically motivated. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of media outlets sensationalized this aspect of the crimes, even suggesting mafia involvement, despite lack of evidence. They're like, when in doubt,
Blame it on the mob.
if it's the Italians, we're going straight to the mafia. So, some analysts, I almost said animals, some crime analysts have suggested that the killings were like sexually motivated and that the murderer was like perhaps like a sexual sadist, especially like seeking female victims. But then criminologists Colin Damon Wilson hypothesized that the Axemen killed male victims only when they obstructed his attempts to murder women, supported by cases in which the woman of the household was murdered, but not the man. A less plausible theory is that the Axeman committed the murders in an attempt to promote jazz music.
What?
Walk with me. So, this is suggested by written correspondence attributed to the killer in which he stated that he would spare the lives of those who played jazz in their homes. And so, March 13th, 1919, a letter purporting to be from the Axeman was was published in newspapers saying that he would kill again at 15 minutes past midnight on the night of March 19th, but would spare occupants of any place where a jazz band was playing. And so that night, all of the city's dance halls were filled to capacity, and professional and amateur bands played jazz at parties at hundreds of houses around town. And there were no murders that night.
Crazy.
I know. So here's the letter. It says, Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, love that opener. That is how I'm going to title all of my work emails from now on.
I
So,
I second that.
esteemed mortals, they have never caught me and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. Same. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. What an opener.
Hades?
Listen, just we got a Dimon himself writing this letter. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of he whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty Francis Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need of such warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as the most horrible murder, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the angel of death. Now, to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If anyone has A jazz band going. Well, then so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, it is about time I leave your earthly home. I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy. Signed, the Axeman. I mean, I almost like when you, okay, murders aside, I love this letter. It cracks me up. I think this is the funniest shit. And it
It's
is it
amazing.
try and tell me this is not the most New Orleans thing you've ever fucking heard in your entire
Very
life.
much.
P-
Very much.
P.S. I'm a demon. P.S. though, if you play jazz, y'all are good. Like
As
it's so
long as you're
New
playing jazz, I won't.
it's
You're fine.
it's
Everything's
so
fine.
it's so New Orleans. The only thing missing from this is some
Wow.
like voodoo reference.
Really, all boxes are checked.
Like quintessential.
But kind of the voodoo is checked because of demon.
Right, kind of. So it's like, okay.
Kind of, sort of, not really. But
Like,
whoa.
yeah. So that's the letter. Very well written, I might add. Anywho, the Axeman was never caught or identified, and his crime spree stopped as mysteriously as it had started. So the
Because
identity
everyone
remains,
started playing jazz, right?
yeah. So the Axeman is single-handedly responsible for just the soaring of jazz in New Orleans. But the identity his identity remains unknown, assuming it's a man. Although various possible identifications of varying plausibility have been proposed. So let's walk through it. So, a crime writer speculates that the Axeman could have been a man by the name of Joseph Monfrey, a man shot to death in Los Angeles in December 1920 by the widow of Mike Pepitone, the Axeman's last known victim. And Wilson's theory, the crime writer who put this forward, has been widely repeated in other like true crime books across websites. But another crime writer, Michael Newton, searched public, police, and court records in New Orleans and Los Angeles, as well as newspaper archives, and failed to find any evidence of a man named Joseph Monfrey or a similar name having been assaulted or killed in Los Angeles.
Hmm.
Now, he was also unable to find any information that Mrs. Pepitone, identified in some sources as Esther Albano and in others simply as the woman who claimed to be Pepitone's widow, was arrested, tried, or convicted for such a crime, or indeed had even been to California. So this writer notes that Momfrey, which was not an unusual surname in New Orleans at the time of the crimes, like it could have just been like an individual named Joseph Momfrey or Mumfrey in New Orleans, who had a criminal history and who may have been connected with organized crime, but local records for the period are not extensive enough to allow for confirmation of this or to positively identify the individual. Um, there's this other explanation, like saying like that this sort of organized crime thing, it's really just kind of an urban legend, and that there's no more evidence now on the identity of the killer than there was at the time of the crimes. Two of the alleged early victims of the Axeman, it was an Italian couple named Chambra, were shot by an intruder in their lower Ninth Ward home during the early morning hours of May 16, 1912. The male survived while his wife did not, and in newspaper accounts, the prime suspect was referred to by the name of Momfra more than once. While radically different than the Axeman's usual MO, if Joseph Momfra was indeed the Axeman, the Chambras may well have been one of the earliest victims of the future serial killer. Um, According to like a scholar on this topic, the chief suspect in the crimes was Frank Doc Mumfrey, who used the alias Leon Joseph Momfra. Um, Mumfrey's Garden District jazz business, previously struggling, was noted by many in the community as seeming to do unusually good business once the city was compelled by threat of violence to hire jazz bands and play jazz records. So that's kind of an interesting thing. There are many victims. We have, I'll walk you through some of these. There's Joseph and Catherine Maggio. So, May 23rd, 1918, Joseph Maggio, an Italian grocer, and his wife, Catherine, they were attacked while sleeping inside their apartment. The killer broke into the residence, cut their throats with a straight razor. Catherine's throat was cut so deeply that her head was nearly severed from her
Oh
shoulders.
my gosh.
I know. He then, the killer, struck both victims with an axe, perhaps in order to conceal the cause of death. Joseph, however, survived the attack, but died minutes after being discovered by his brothers, Jake and Andrew. And the killer wrote a message on the nearby pavement reading, "Mrs. Maggio will sit up tonight just like Mrs. Tony," theorized to be a reference to Anthony and Joanna Siambra, the Italian greengrocers who were attacked in 1911. So,
Huh.
police found the bloody clothes of the murderer in the apartment, as he had obviously changed into like a clean set of clothes, like I guess on his way out. And a complete search of the premises was not performed after the bodies were removed, yet the blood-stained razor was later found on the lawn of a neighboring property. Police ruled out robbery as motivation because money and valuables were left in plain sight. The razor was found to belong to Joseph's brother Andrew, who owned a barber shop on Camp Street. His employee Esteban told police that Andrew had removed the razor from his shop 2 days prior to the murder, explaining that if he had wanted to have or that he wanted to have a nick honed from the blade. Andrew, who lived in an adjoining apartment, reported hearing groaning noises through the wall on the night of the murders. Andrew blamed his failure to hear any noise related to the attack itself on his intoxicated state. Police, however, were like surprised that he failed to hear the intruder's forced entry into the home. And so Andrew, the brother, became the police like their chief
Suspect.
suspect. But he was released after investigations were unable to break down his statement as well as his account of an unknown man who was supposedly seen lurking near the apartment prior to the murders. Then you have Louis Bessemer and Harriet Lowe. So June 27th, 1918, Louis Bessemer and his mistress Harriet Lowe were attacked in private quarters at the back of a grocery store. So there's that. Bessemer was struck with a hatchet above his right temple, which resulted in a possible skull fracture. Lowe was hacked over the left ear and left with one side of her face permanently paralyzed. The couple were discovered the following morning alive but critically injured by a bakery wagon driver, John Zanka, who had come to the grocery store to make like just his regular delivery of baked goods. And the axe, which had belonged to Bessemer himself, was found in the adjacent bathroom. Now, Bessemer stated to investigators that he had been sleeping when he was attacked with the hatchet. And then, like almost immediately, the police arrest Louis Aubuchon, who was a 41-year-old African American man who had been employed in the grocery just a week before the attacks. No evidence existed which could have proved Aubuchon guilty, but police arrested him nonetheless, stating that he had offered conflicting accounts of his whereabouts on the morning of the attack. I'm going to go ahead and say he was pressured into that and pressured into a state of confusion because he was black.
Yeah.
So I'm going to just leave that there. Anyway, he was later released because the police were unable to gather sufficient evidence to hold him. Lowe, the mistress, recalled her assailant having been a mixed race man, yet her statement was discounted by police due to her disoriented state. And robbery was said to be the only possible explanation for the attack, but no money, again, or valuables were removed. So the mistress, Lo, she becomes the center of this like media circus around this because she continuously makes these scandalous and often false statements relating to both the attacks and the character of the guy she was seeing, Bassumer. So after Bassumer fell under suspicion of espionage following the discovery of foreign written letters in his possession, Lowe tells the police that she thought he was a German spy, resulting in his immediate arrest, and then he was released 2 days later. So this is just like this wild thing that she took advantage of out
Yeah.
of this whole thing. In August of 1918, Bassumer was arrested again after Lowe, by then on her deathbed following failed surgery, named him as her assailant, and then he was charged with murder, served 9 months in prison, and then was acquitted in 1919 after a 10-minute jury deliberation. Then you have Anna Schreider, I'm sorry, Schneider. During the early morning hours of August 5th, 1918, 28-year-old Anna Schneider, who was 8 months pregnant, awoke to a dark figure standing over her and was bashed in the face repeatedly. Her scalp was cut open, her face was covered in blood, and she was discovered after midnight by her husband, Ed. He came home late from work. Anna claimed that she remembered nothing of the attack and gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 days later.
Whoa.
I know, right? So, Ed tells the police nothing was stolen, except for $6 or $7 that had been in his wallet, and the windows and doors of the couple's apartment appeared to have not been forced open, and authorities came to the conclusion that the woman was most likely attacked with a lamp that had been on a nearby table. Um, an ex-convict by the name of James Gleason was arrested shortly after Anna was found, and was later released due to lack of evidence. And then lead investigators became or started to publicly speculate that the attack was actually related to the previous incidents of Basumer and Maggio. So they're starting to like tie all this together now. And on to, there's like a million of these, so I'll pick like a couple more, and then the final one. There's the Cortimiglia family. 1919, Italian immigrant Charles Cortimiglia and his family, including wife Rosie and their infant daughter Mary, were attacked in their residence um, in like a suburb of New Orleans. Upon hearing screams from the residents, a grocer, Orlando Giordano, rushed across the street to investigate. He discovers the family had all been attacked by the Axeman. Charles and Rosie had both suffered skull fractures from blows caused by an axe, which was found on their back porch, and Mary was killed in her mother's arms from a blow to the back of the neck. And nothing was stolen from the house, but a panel on the back door had been chiseled away. Um, Charles was released 2 days after the attack, while his wife remained in the care of doctors. And upon gaining full consciousness, Rosie made claims that Giordano and his 18-year-old son Frank were responsible for the attacks. Giordano, who was a 69-year-old man, was in too poor of health to have done so. Frank, more than 6 feet tall, weighing over 200 pounds, would have been too large to have fit through the panel on the back door. And then Rosie's husband, Charles, like vehemently like denies his wife's claims. But police arrested the Giordanos regardless, charged them with murder, and the men would be found guilty later. Frank was sentenced to hang. His father was sentenced to life in prison. Charles divorces his wife after the trial, and almost a year later, Rosie admits that she had falsely accused them out of jealousy and spite, resulting in release. I know. There are several more to this, but the final one, the final victim, is Mike Pepitone. So, the night of October 27th, 1919, the wife of Mike Pepitone was awakened by a noise and arrived at the door of her husband's bedroom just as a large axe-wielding man was fleeing the scene. Pepitone had been struck in the head and was covered in his own blood. Blood spatter covered the majority of the room, including a painting of the Virgin Mary, so that's spooky. And then Pepitone's wife, the mother of 6 children, was unable to describe any of the characteristics of the killer other than large. And the Pepitone murder was the last of the alleged Axeman attacks. And so that's it for the Axeman. Nobody knows who this dude was. Nobody knows, like, anything, really.
That's insane.
I know, right? If this had taken place in more modern times, this guy would not stand a chance. I mean, because he left everything behind every time.
Yeah.
Fingerprints all over the axes, clothes that would have had his DNA all over it, all that fun stuff. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
the Axeman of New Orleans.
How crazy.
I
Well
know.
done. The
Thank
coverage,
you.
phenomenal. Snaps for
Thank you.
Cassie.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm honestly still stuck on the letter. I'm going to be honest with you.
I know. We're looking at
I,
least 12 victims associated with this guy.
yeah.
I
Like,
didn't I didn't cover them all, but yeah, and there's like even more that are like supposed.
that's haunting.
I
I'm
know.
not going to lie.
I know. And the thing that blows my mind, I mean, it's the letter itself, but then it's also like the fact that he went out of his way to be like, play jazz and I'll leave you alone. And then he literally did leave everybody alone. He was like, okay, they're playing jazz. I'm like happy now.
I'm gone.
Like, what? I don't know. That's so crazy to me that there were no murders that night. There you have
That
it.
is the most New Orleans thing. That is the most New Orleans serial killer. You're
Literally, the only thing that probably would have made this more New Orleans is if he had left like a po' boy sandwich at every scene
And voodoo doll.
and a voodoo
Like
doll. And like,
that's
I don't
it.
know, like that pretty much sums it up.
Well, I mean, there's no way to easily segue into what I'm going to segue
You're
into.
like, so here we go. We're
Because
just gonna
mine's
do it.
ridiculous. Mine is straight up
You know
just
what
a
though?
ridiculous thing from the 50s.
I think after all of that, we probably need something ridiculous. So
Here's lightheartedness for you.
I'm ready.
So, trends.
Trends?
Love them, hate them, people do them.
That's true.
Trends.
It's true.
And I'm probably going to go down a rabbit hole of trends throughout the decades, throughout the years, throughout life,
We'd love
right?
to see
But I
it.
found a very interesting trend challenge you may have: phone booth stuffing.
Oh my God, I actually know a little bit about this. Okay, I'm ready to hear it.
So, legend has it that phone booth stuffing was popularized by a group of 25 South African students who managed to cram themselves into a single booth in 1959. As word of mouth exploited and spread, their colleagues couldn't help but challenge it.
This is so insane.
It's
This is
like
so
planking.
insane.
Do you
I
remember
like planking.
planking?
Oh my God, yes, I do.
Or what was that? What does the fox say? That
Yep,
that stance and oh my gosh.
so
Oh my
much.
gosh.
Yep.
Rules for the challenge varied from college to college. Some required for everyone to be totally inside the booth. Some allowed for legs and arms to stick out, while others required for more than half the person's body to be counted. In England, the practice was called telephone booth squash. Some rules required that once everybody was shoved into the booth, a successful phone call had to be made.
They were like, we need to take
Could you
this one
imagine?
step further. Forget it.
Oh, the pictures are ridiculous. I love it. I love it so much. Incorporating this challenge into their academics, many students tried to devise ways of fitting more people through using geometry and calculus.
Let's math
Because
it
why
up.
not?
Yeah.
Students even fasted to fit in even more and recruited as small-bodied freshmen as they could to beat this challenge.
Looking at pictures of this gives me so much agita. Like I can't. Like it's too clausto.
Um, they began cutting classes. Groups claiming to break the record even upended a phone booth, knocking it on its side. People piled into one like a canoe. Rumors of a school in Canada even claimed to manage to cram 40 people into a phone booth.
Oh my God, I hate that.
It,
I
it
hate
actually
it
makes
so
me
much.
nauseous.
It yeah, and it's
Yeah.
like, do you know, it's like so easy for somebody to die.
Yep. But investigating, they found they had used a fraternity phone room, and they were disqualified in most people's eyes because it was a phone room, not a phone booth. So, there you go.
Okay, cheaters.
Despite receiving press from news outlets all over the country and even being featured in Time magazine, the fad lost momentum by the end of 1959, the same year it started.
Well, I
As
can
most
see
trends do.
why.
Trends don't actually ever last longer than the year that it started, that even
God,
today.
I feel like in most cases, like not even like 6 months. And now with social media, I feel like not even like 2 weeks.
Right?
Hmm.
A new challenge of stuffing kids into Volkswagen Beetles had started, emerging in later years.
There
So
we go.
I definitely want to look into that one. Because I love Volkswagen Beetles. They hold a special place in my heart.
I always wanted one as like my car.
Me too.
A
So,
baby blue one.
oh my god, we're the same. Apparently, this does still pop up at class reunions.
Oh my God, stop. Does it? What are we doing?
I need to see old people do this, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. I also need medical care there waiting.
because that's got to lead into broken hips. I'm
Somebody's
sorry.
breaking something. Absolutely.
But there you have it. That is the very odd trend of phone booth stuffing. Did you guys have nothing else better to do?
I
Your
mean,
parents
literally,
sent you to school for an education.
I want to know what the person was thinking. They were like, "Hey, I've got an idea," and then the fact that everybody else was like, "Yes, let's do it."
Here it is.
I don't. If somebody said to me, "I want you to get into a phone booth with 40 other people," I'd be like, "Absolutely not.
No,
Not interested."
absolutely not. You
Yeah.
could not pay me. Germs, claustrophobia, no.
Nope.
No,
Nope. It's a pass.
absolutely not.
Wow, that's good find, bestie. I love this.
This one's
Well,
been on my list for a while. However, due to its shortness, I haven't wanted to cover it. I did see that you were covering the Axeman today, and I was like, nah, that might be a nice little lightheartedness to counterbalance.
good call. Definitely.
Uplift.
Uplift, if you will. Well,
Yes.
I loved it. Well done. Good. This was a good episode, good balance. And I want to wish everybody a very happy Spookaween.
Maybe don't shove yourself into small places.
Don't shove yourself into small places. Be safe and have
Maybe play
fun.
some maybe play some not axe, jazz music.
Play some jazz when you're walking around or going to parties. And until next time.
Stay strange.